Hi students, I hope you're all safe. And today we are going to see about theories of organization in organization psychology. So we have so many theories. So these theory consist of many approaches to organizational analysis. Organization are defined as social units of people that are structured and managed to meet a need or to pursue collective goals. Theories of organization include rational system perspective, division of labor, bureaucratic theory, and contingency theory. I hope you have studied this concept and principles of management. In a rational organization system, there are two significant parts, significant of goals and formalization. The division of labor is the specialization of individual labor roles associated with increasing output and trade. Modernization theorist Frank Dobbin states modern institutions are transparently purposive, that we are in the midst of an evolutionary progression towards more efficient forms. Max Weber's conception of bureaucracy is characterized by the presence of impersonal positions that are earned and not inherited. Rule governed decision making, professionalism, chain of command, defined responsibility, and bounded authority. The contingency theory holds that an organization must try to maximize performance by minimizing the effects of varying environmental and internal constraints. So, we are going to see one by one. Management thinkers have characterized three types of theory, that is classical, neoclassical, modern. In classical, we are going to see about bureaucratic theory, scientific management, and classical theory, it is built on an accounting model. It lays emphasis on detecting errors and correcting them once they have been committed. It is more concerned with the amount of output than the human beings. The human beings are considered to be relatively homogeneous and unmodifiable. Thus, labor is not divided on the basis of different kinds of to be job performed in an organization. It is assumed that employees are relatively stable in terms of change in the organization. It is assumed that the authority and control should be vested with a central authority only in order to have a centralized and integrated system. So many management thinkers of classical theory emphasized on the technological aspects of the organization and how the individuals can be made more efficient, while others emphasized on the structural aspects of an organization so that individuals collectively can be made more efficient. Thus, this purview of different management thinker result in the formation of two distinct streams. So one is scientific management stream, the other one is Fayol's 14 principle. Thus, according to this theory, the human beings are just considered as a means of production. So we have three theory, that is the bureaucratic scientific management theory and administrative theory. We will move on to one by one. So, bureaucratic theory was given by German sociologist Max Weber. He argued bureaucracy was the most efficient and rational model private businesses and public offices could operate in. His bureaucratic theories influenced generation of business leaders and politicians well into the 20th century. While Weber's theory prioritizes efficiency, it is not necessarily the best practice for leaders to implement. So Weber was unlike most workplace leaders today. His theory of management, also called the bureaucratic theory, stressed strict rules and a firm distribution of power. He would have scolded today's managers, most of whom are open to new ideas and flexible work arrangements for their leadership style. Precision, speed, unambiguity, knowledge of files, continuity, discretion, unit, strict subordination, reduction of friction and of material and personal costs. These are the race to the optimum point in the strictly bureaucratic administration written by Weber. So many of the Webbers believe discourage creativity and collaboration in the workplace and oppose flexibility and risk. So he emphasized the six characteristics of bureaucracies uh, identified by him. First one is division of labor. The order has been changed in the PowerPoint. So first one is division of labor. Weber felt that task specialization promotes the timely completion of work at the highest level of skills. Tasks, therefore, in Weber's ideal organization are divided into categories based on team members, competencies, and areas of expertise. Employees and departments have clearly defined roles and expectations in which they are responsible solely for the labor they do best. This is designed to maximize efficiency for the organization. Overstepping one's responsibilities, such as presenting new ideas outside of your department scope, and is generally frowned upon. Second one is hierarchical management structure. Weber advocated that management should be organized into layers, with each layer being responsible for a team's performance. Here he is talking about team building activities. Weber believed that each layer of management should provide supervision to the layers below them while being subject to the control of those above them. Thus, individuals at the top of the management hierarchy have the most authority, while those at the bottom have the least power. This hierarchical structure clearly delineates line of communication, delegation, and the division of responsibility. Scientific management theory, also called the classical management theory, which emphasizes on efficiency much like Max Weber's. However, according to Taylor, rather than scolding employees for every minor mistake, employers should reward workers for increased productivity. The principal object of management should be to secure the maximum prosperity for the employer, coupled with the maximum prosperity of each employee. Said by Tyler, the words maximum prosperity are used in their broad sense to mean not only large dividends for the company or owner, but the development of every branch of business to its highest state of excellence so that the prosperity may be permanent. While the theory makes more efficient workers, it is not without fault or flaws. Many of these subtasks are menial, causing workers to feel like part of an assembly line rather than creative additions to their team. However, productivity is still a valuable result of this practice. And depending on the industry, the theory could be a great condition to business today. Here are the four principal Frederick Tyler's management theory. That is, break down assignments into subtasks. Rather than assigning an entire project to one individual and allowing them the proper time to complete it, managers break down the larger task into smaller parts. These subtasks are meant to make the process more organized and efficient. With multiple employees working on one assignment, each taking care of their own piece. So next one is delegate responsibilities and train workers. Executives measures the most efficient way to do a given task, then delegate the subtask only to employees with the proper skills and abilities. Those workers are then trained by management. Workers Workers' roles tend to be specific and fixed, and their task basic and repetitive. Often, employees feel insignificant completing the same core hours on end. But to tailor each work plays a crucial role in the company's success. Next, monitor performance. Supervisors ensure each worker below them is doing their job efficiently, and if a more productive practice is discovered, workers are retained to implement it in their work. Because employees must repeat the same mundane task, incentives are high, workers are motivated to deliver quality work because they are financially rewarded based on their performance. The more efficient the worker is, the higher their pay will be. Allocate work between managers and employees. Most companies have various levels of workers from supervisors to part timers. Typically, the more experience and drive you have, the more likely you are to land on executive position. This is how much of the business world operates. Today, the most of the efficient way of doing things which has been given by Taylor, and he believed in a similar hierarchy of three levels with the most powerful workers on top. Each level is given exact responsibilities and detailed instructions specific to their role. They respect and adhere to those above them and to do only what is assigned to them. So these are the best features of scientific management. This theory basically encompasses the work performed on the production floor, as these tasks are quite different from other tasks performed within organization, such as these are repetitive in nature and the individual workers performing their daily activities are divided into large number of cyclical repetition of same or closely related activities. Also, these activities do not require the individual worker to exercise complex problem solving activity. Therefore, more attention is required to be imposed on the standardization of working methods, and hence a scientific management theory laid emphasis on this aspect. The major principles of scientific management given by Taylor is summarized like separate planning from doing, the functional foremanship of supervision, that eight supervisors required to give directions and instructions in their repetitive and respective field. Time, motion, and fatigue studies shall be used to determine the fair amount of work done by each individual worker, improving the working conditions and standardization the tools, period of work and cost of protection. Proper scientific selection and training of workmen should be done. The financial incentives should be given to the workers to boost their productivity and motivate them to perform well. Thus, scientific management theory focused more on mechanization and automation, that is, technical aspects of efficiency. So, we are moving to the criticism of scientific management. Though it has so many advantages, it has some disadvantages. Uh, First one is exploitation of workers. Workers feel they are exploited as they are not given due share in increasing profits, which is due to their increased productivity. Wages do not rise in proportions as rise in production. Wage payment creates uncertainty and insecurity beyond a standard output, and there is no increase in wage rate. Next, it is monotony and it is a mechanical approach. Due to excessive specialization, the workers are not able to take initiative on their own. Their status is reduced to being more cogs in wheels. Job become dull, workers lose interest in job and derive little pleasure from work. So, and it may lead to over efficiency, there is over speeding. The scientific management lays standard output time, so they have to rush up and finish the work in time. These have adverse effect on health of workers. The workers speed up to that standard output, so scientific management drives the workers to rush towards output and finish work in standard time. And it based on weakening of trade union, individualistic approach to everything is fixed and predetermined by management, so it leaves no room for trade union to bargain, as everything is standardized: standard output, standing working conditions, standard time, etc. This further weakens trade union, create a rift between efficient and inefficient workers according to their wages, and it leads to unemployment also. Workers feel that management reduces employment opportunity from them through replacement of men, machines,